I'm ready to press restart. How about you? If you were here last week, you know that I started a new three-part series, and today is our second part. There'll be a very little brief review, so if you weren't here, you'll catch on. But these were lessons of life born of my own experience, not to dwell on my suffering. But in the year before I came to serve this church, I had surgery and a lung disease, and the doctor said, "You have to face you may not survive this." And I had to get kind of clear with myself what that meant at my youthful age to be thinking about such a challenge. And when I began to recover and regain my strength and was finally able to work and speak once again, my first Sunday lessons were entitled Meditations on Life. I exist. I experience. I create. These were the joyous words and ideas that came to me as I was awakening to what would be a new life for me, a change. And so, in these 3 weeks, if you don't come away with anything else from my many words, my scriptures, my stories, my practices, whatever it may be, just hold on to these 3 statements. I exist. I experience. I create. And just feel those words and what they may speak and how they feel. Because sometimes in our busy lives, speaking for myself, to simply be still in a time of silence, prayer, meditation, whatever you want to call it, a yoga practice, to hold this idea, I exist. Thank you, God, that I am, that I have life, that I've been given life, that I've been given an opportunity by the Creator to live. And secondly, I experience. You often stop and give thanks that you have the so-called 5 senses. Rudolf Steiner would tell us we have 12, but I won't go into that now. But with our physical senses, that we look out on this world and the wonders that we take in, we inspire into our soul. I remember when I was doing postgraduate work at the University of Missouri, and I was in the Department of Psychology, and we were studying the human being's faculties of sensation, our senses. And I remember hearing this lecture from the professor talking about the intricacies and how everything had to move in what we call in unity divine order, perfect pattern of unfolding in the optic nerve and the eye. And I was so mesmerized by the creative wisdom that makes just our physical sight possible that I broke down and started sobbing in the lecture. The professor after the class said, "Well, you experienced my lecture rather deeply, didn't you?" But I was overwhelmed by the beauty that God has created that we might have sight. And we could go on and talk of hearing and taste and what it is to touch and feel something. And so we experience this world by taking all of this in. And then what? What do we do with it? What do we do with it? Well, we interpret it. What does this mean to me? Sounds selfish, but it isn't. What does all this information mean? What value do I find in it? How do I react to it? I am not afraid to admit this week I have been reacting a lot to what's coming at me from the world. Yes, whether it's global and the conflicts in our world and the sorrow I feel that part of my human family has to be going through what's happening. But closer to home, things I'm experiencing in the world and just getting a little bit irritated or angry or disturbed. But then stopping. Who's creating the disturbance? Who is creating the discomfort, the irritation? One of my favorite words, frustration. I'm creating it within myself. Now hear me. That's not to say that things don't happen to us from the outer world or the way other people treat us or react to us that isn't difficult, uncomfortable, unpleasant. But when you get right down to it, it's all what you make of it within your own mind and heart. So here's this statement, I experience this world. But as Jesus said, be of good cheer. There's tribulation, but that inner truth, that I am, that spark of divinity that we sang about last week, in the very midst of you is what Jesus called your good cheer. There are difficulties. We all know that. In unity, we say we are responsible, response-able. We choose our responses. And when they don't seem to be working for us, we press restart. God has given us this gift to try again, to look again, to see something not our way, but to see the possibility in it. I was doing some folding this week in here on the office counter, and all of a sudden I started noticing my wrist was hurting. I mean, it was actually starting to get painful. And I stopped a minute and I said, James, that's not what my friend, who's an orthopedic massage therapist back east, he said, you have to use good body mechanics when you're working. How are you moving? How are you lifting? Well, here I was trying to fold, and I had my wrist in an awkward position, and it was hurting. And I thought, oh, I can do this differently, and the pain stopped. And I thought, is this analogous to our thinking and our feeling? Do we hold on to hard feelings? Do we hold on to thoughts that stress us? I had a disappointing experience because I chose it to be disappointing. Chose to struggle with it this week. And then I looked at my wrist. Well, perhaps I could think of this in a different way, as a new possibility. Some of you participate in our continual little coin box bank that we give you twice a year. And I ask you as you put a coin in it each day to hold the affirmation printed on the box. And it's a simple one from a friend of mine in Unity back in Kansas City. And I've done it many years. I put the coin in and say, I accept change. I adjust to change. Now the big one. Whoa! I appreciate the changes in my life. I heard someone said, if you're contemplating change in your life, don't. But let's face it, change is how we know that we're alive, we exist. We're experiencing the world and we are adjusting to it, evolving to it. What would happen if there was suddenly no change in our life? Not only would it probably get rather boring, I suspect, but you wouldn't have opportunity to learn new things, develop new skills, form new friendships and relationships. No. That would be change. You're not going to have that in your life. You want everything the same, all the time. No variation. There's only one who does not vary, and that is eternal omnipotence. The unchanging Spirit we call God, life. It does not change in the sense that it varies. Oh, Gerald, I'm life. I'll be with you today, but not next Tuesday. No. Life, as an essence, is always with us, but our circumstances can change. But as Jesus said, be of good cheer. You will have tribulation, change. But I have overcome the world. The Spirit within you can deal with anything. It can adjust to change, and you can appreciate what change is bringing in your life. You know, one of my favorites are our best teachers. Not a unity teacher, not a minister teacher. One of our best teachers is your breath. The wisdom of your body that knows to inhale and knows to exhale. It knows this constant rhythm of in-breathing and out-breathing. And if you'll just let it remind you and teach you, and all you have to do, well, is what Claire did at the beginning of the prayer time. Breathe, exhale, sigh a little bit, just become aware of this ongoing rhythm that your body is always teaching you. You're going to experience the world, and then you're going to take it in and make it a part of yourself. You're going to experience and then create meaning and new understanding from what you've brought from the world. And this is good. And it leads us to our third part next week. I create. I create. Just a little preview. Think of that phrase. You may say, Reverend, I'm not creative. I don't know how to paint a picture. I can't play music like this. Folks, every one of us is creating constantly. It's called our soul of thinking and feeling and willing to act. You're constantly creating. So on today's theme, as you take in from the world, not just Mother Nature, but our global human family, your friends, your own family members, strangers, some stranger than others. Not pointing any fingers here. As you take that all in, you're going to do something with it. You're going to form what our world seems super abundantly full of opinions. You're going to form opinions about yourself, about others, about the state of the world. I'll give you the little trick I use. And it's a loaded term these days. Is what I'm feeling, thinking, even acting? Is it Christ-like? Is it Christian? What do I mean by that? I mean is what I am thinking, feeling, or actually bringing into action. Is it life-affirming? Is it beneficial to the world, humanity, nature? Does it lift up or does it oppress? There was a famous civil rights leader, one who set many amazing examples. Her name was Fannie Lou Hamer. And she left us many quotations, more importantly, many accomplishments for civil rights in this country and testifying before Congress. And many things that a so-called simple woman from Mississippi might not have been expected to do. But one of the lines I really appreciated was as she took in everything that was going on in our world in the 50s and 60s. She had a saying, "Ain't nobody gonna turn me round. Ain't nobody gonna turn me round. When I know that I am pursuing truth, justice." She also said, "I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired." She wanted, oh no, there's that word again. She wanted change in her life, in her world. And she was working toward it and said, "Ain't nobody gonna turn me around, set me back, push me back." That's a powerful statement. And it's a reminder to you, whatever you experience, whatever you take in from this world, remember the creative power of the divine spark in you, truth in you, God, good in you. That's your ability to shape your response to all that you take in. And what happens? Inwardly, you turn that into wisdom, love or compassion, understanding, zeal, enthusiasm, renunciation. Ain't no one going to turn me around. And life. Our principles of unity begin to unfold, grow, develop, expand in you as you simply remember these three statements. I exist. I experience and I create within myself my response to the world, and then that informs what? How I deal with change, how I deal with stress, how I deal with relationships with other people. Am I going to be the change I want to see in the world? Am I going to be a solution or a problem creator? Isn't that amazing that your God, the creator of all, has given you the ability to create your responses? And some of you may say, it's all right, I've heard it many times. Well, Reverend, you don't know what you're talking about. You've never been in a place of serious abuse, oppression. Folks, you have the ability to create your response. You think I'm just being trite about all of this? If you read biographies, if you see biographical movies, look at people who had tough times in life. They're the most creative of all. Ain't nobody going to turn me around. They choose. Okay, this is mean. This is unfair. This is harsh. This is cruel. What am I going to do about it? Am I going to give it back the same way? Or am I going to transform it through my Christ-like skills into forgiveness, into change that brings new possibilities, the opportunity for deeper understanding? Perhaps you have a neighbor, maybe even a family member, that's challenging you around opinions and politics. And in this year 2024, that's only going to increase for most of us. Choose your response. Can you hear someone's opinion? Rudolf Steiner said, every true student should take genuine interest in each human being. Can you, like our prayer chaplains here in Unity, listen from the heart? And you hear ideas and opinions that are very disturbing to you? And can you hear how that soul might be crying out, might be trying to find meaning in the circumstances of their life, their state, their nation? That's possible. That is possible because of those inner Christ-like skills, those abilities that God has given you. You can. Will you? Let's take a moment and turn our attention within. And as we do in unity, plant seeds or thoughts in the depths of our soul and trust the process of God that new ideas can develop. So gently close your eyes, be comfortable in your chair, and just consider a circumstance. Don't struggle with it. Just the first thing that comes to your mind, a circumstance you've recently experienced this week, maybe even this morning. What were your thoughts about it? Your feelings around it? Affirm you have control over your responses to the world. Our Unity co-founder, Charles Fillmore, loved the phrase, not can disturb the calm peace of my soul. Only I can choose to create the disturbance. How is the Christ impulse or idea working through me? Am I making this situation worse at work, in my family, in my church? Or am I beholding the possibility, the benefit of change? Like a breath of fresh air. Most likely it will do me good. Do I want to be part of the solution or contribute to maintaining the problem? Do I want to add to suffering of myself or others? Or through compassion, do I want to relieve it? Because that Christ impulse pushes me to move forward, higher and higher, to expressing my truth, to expressing the truth of all. Ain't nobody gonna turn me around. Charles Fillmore claimed he was like Napoleon's little drummer boy. He didn't know how to beat a retreat, and he wasn't going to learn. Forward, creative, bringing life-affirming change in your life, with those around you, your community, and your world. Thanks be to God. And let this inner experience just be sealed again with these three thoughts. They're like seed. They grow in your awareness. I exist. I experience. I create. Thank God that it is so. Amen. And I invite the band to come forward, raising our spirits in joy. They'll share their music, and as the ushers come around, place a blessing upon your contribution today. Fill it with your awareness and your love. I am sending this forth to do a good work through this ministry and into the world.
I don't know about you, but one of my favorite things to experience is just the sun on my skin. I've actually been watching you four really get to enjoy the sun. You're sitting in the sunlight right now. This is a song about that. 1, 2, 3, There are times when people belong just because they want to be here with you under the stars on an open beach. When I'm far away from home, something to look up to. They dream of being with you. When I set my eyes upon the beautiful waters, reflecting the glory of the river sun, share stories with everyone. With compassion, the genuine love, the same vibrations as the light above. Being scared of what's to come has a certain beauty, but overwhelming duty. Compulsive taste at the tip of my tongue. You provide a simple reminder that there's a light within me. Probably always will be. When I set my eyes upon the beautiful waters, reflect the glory of the river and sun, share stories with everyone. With compassion, and genuine love, the same vibrations as the light above. Abundance is not so serious, even through walls of broken trust. Let's party with laughter, we're playful hereafter. We'll vividly see the beautiful waters of the glory of the river and sun. Share stories with everyone. With compassion and genuine love, the same vibrations as the light above. The beautiful waters reflect the glory of the river and sun. Share stories with everyone. With compassion, genuine love, vibrations as a light above.
Okay. I invite you to join me in our relatively new affirmation on the screen, also words of Charles Fillmore, but this has just a different feel to it. So let's bless these gifts. First, God's good in our own life, and then God as good in our community life. So together, God gives abundantly, I receive thankfully, and give again generously. Oops. This is the bounty of God, and we send it forth with wisdom and joy. Thanks be to God. And in unity, we know that it's not only the financial gifts, although they are lovely and creative, but it's gifts of all kinds. So let's give thanks to the band today. All their rehearsing, and they were here before 8 o'clock this morning.